Nach húte teams uit fein waif. Als je geestjoch rischen adrechaugiger uit gewil schrijver van Brien kurf het microfoon. Als station is hier meer een honetje Johnny McKeever artroriger aan een honie.
Nahad Tanyef can glorious Danamskin you get a riach. As in thank you to Sean and Horam Shaw, Uarella, we can Coda, Gakuti, as in Homer, Agus Erline. As in thank you to Sean, the Gallison, Agus Nahuyaman ha Kielach and Orientation Yanu, Agus Iats and Hakoban Nahuyaman, Shankujach. As in thank you to Gabel and Horamak and you be Kanyaka Coda, Agus. As in Gear give me Targain Sturg, at Sashin, Jasper, there in a differ canoic and a Hernahashkin ha for Panierka you. As in thank you, guys and Stegen Hashkin show, Agus Sashin Gear give me Kurish look over Hacken Gayer, Targaiv Taik, Agus Kujak, Agus Sturg, turn no Wachen. Taganyak matter of Koguni and Hackney Yanu, Agus Hashin Gimu Kuru. Agus gymio ganyan for droch vial for faganya agus asin tartain kut eson chlawn kudach agus asin gear gymio koder agus gymia the quadrutes in an lachen and dogje mastik na droch lachen gymio targaisen stuur agus Comhairle eson maar steis ateen is een heel woord Zule ha tiedach de gal bunas keun han je lanach sin fiken rotigen dan tachard matigen fagen heel as in gerke mi jatsen haruchige na differ kaisnachen agus riaken kudach kemi tot gaif shallig de bachorge bigianu bi gat kwati takel agus kemi at krachke heen an den doich kormach agus tot gaif Sturen agus coverstach kudach gan jaine ha kufeme coverstach je het kaul luchtgeul na carrigen na nabien agus as in gerg me chorus en ha fulleg le die slaantje biga na treimenten na moig bi tot gaif njast agus een hutje hat de femegin schon feine das go halu pennabilat riarit agus savalt. Het roin is as sin dat tranachor in chanje was seo agus because in carach agus in jeriach car is han suie kudach agus hule danje hat nu oberwoord as in homer seo. Maar in pekman gele agus tiansin is gachrias daarmee.
Tapel Johnny. The meeting is now recorded. In regard to the conduct of the meeting, a reminder of the following. If you're a member of the committee attending remotely, please leave your camera on and your microphone off. Officers attending remotely, please leave both off unless you're called to speak, to report or answer a question. A reminder to members and officers in the chamber of the queuing system. The chair controls the mics. First, in the queue flashes green and the remainder are solid green. The chair will allow each flashing mic in which will change to red. Only 2 mics on the floor will be red at any time. If you wish to come back to a question, please leave your mic on and officers speaking to the reports. I would advise you to do the same. Committee members will be given priority. In regard to declarations of interest, members must leave the chamber or end the call remotely. Item 12 will be taken in private at the end of the meeting, and prior to moving into private, participants other than the relevant officers and members will be asked to leave the meeting. Finally, a reminder that the meeting has been recorded and will be made available on the Coroner's website following the meeting. Sinna gwasad gan hir cwsbar, gawr counters cynnu naiu o'r ffisio gan ywblin, a son undachig. Tap yn lair. Nawr na cwsbar cwar mae ag bail an y cwsbar sybi cwar oproch, cwar gaif sy'n y chwarig. Bi femel na nisio Comhairle de wil at de kwarig in uw spat. Jyne ook kuspa de 3. Tasbuna hakin voor MG Alpe, so met jullie vaartje creëren op de doelkampo. Uit Lorna McConway voor MG Alpe. Zat er tasbuna nog gos. Maar jene Franne Greenwachs achter door rood. Een hosje gaan met de jure Arno Moedig. Brinische naisk haar bij jou. Tapele, Sonne.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, we have representatives from MG Alpa here today. And this, as noted in the covering report, this follows on from a presentation to the committee back in 2022 regarding the Lershing strategy. So an opportunity to hear an update on the work of MG Alpa and opportunities for partnership working between the Comhairle and MG. Just also, as noted in the report, the Comhairle does have a particular interest in the success and the operation of Stornoway Media Village, where MG Alpa and a range of other creative and cultural organisations are operating from. So, as outlined in the report, we're proposing to commission a short piece of work liaising with existing tenants, just to really look and ensure that the facilities are being put to their optimum use in terms of this point in time and potential wider economic opportunities in future. Thank you, Chair.
Tapele, Anna. Is het door nou risk wat doen is Lorna zijn tasbuna.
Ik wil. Wel, Fescar ma tafel sin chuúrie hier in de vriend rijden Fescar nu. Final word to Marissa always and. Yes. So over the years, I've spoken to this committee several times over the years, and you'll be relieved that I'm no longer bending your ears about the Clonmore or the windy windows in Stornoway Town Hall. And I joined MG Alba in January of this year in a new role, a newly created role as Director of Development and Partnerships. It's been a hugely interesting and busy first 6 months, and my role is on the corporate side of the organisation and is outward facing and forward facing. And it won't surprise you to know that the media sector is moving at a fearfully fast pace, and likewise MG Alba having to move hard and work hard and move fast to keep up with that pace and with the different way we and audiences are consuming our media today. So across our platforms, be that television, regular TV, whether it's digital short form or one of our learning platforms, we're really ambitious for that. And presentation that happened back in 2022, I think Anne said, outlined the vision, and I think we've kind of honed that a bit since, but our ambitions are still grand in that we want to attract 1 million views a week into our various platforms, and we are looking to engage younger and harder to reach audiences. And we're looking to support 250,000 new users of the language across our learning sectors. And in doing so, we think if we can achieve that it has some hefty impacts. We could create up to 300 new jobs, create a new generation of producers and entrepreneurs here on the island, many of whom could be here. And we think that would create quite a significant transformation in the volume of work that comes into the Gaelic media supply sector. We'll say more about this in a moment, but like all publicly funded organisations, resources are tight and extremely limited. But we recognise we're going to have to work well with other organisations to get greater bang for the buck and make the pound go a lot further. And that's very much part of my job going forward. So a couple of things that we're going to move on over the next short time is we wish to create a media skills academy to future-proof and ensure a good supply of new talent into the sector, whether that's technical skills, content creation, whether it's on the script writing, acting side. We're going to look at it across the board. And we see the academy being open to all partners. We see it even being open to the local business community, many of whom are marketing their own businesses and services through media online nowadays. And we have been speaking to your own Skipper, Nick Garlick, Angus McLennan, about how we can better engage with yourselves to do that. We obviously need to work well with the schools, and we're doing that, and your education department are helping us do that. There are and there will be tremendous job opportunities in the Gaelic media sector for young people leaving school, and we want to ensure that there's a good pipeline there for them and seamless routes into our sector, into good and well-paid jobs. We're also keen to use sport and other routes to sport performs particularly well for us on the channel, and we're working with, and so are the Corner, we're working with MG Alba FA, a really interesting organisation that uses football and Gaelic to reach particularly men and boys through the medium of football. And so we're really just trying to open our reach a bit wider and see how we can get more people using the language. As Anne said, we're also your tenants at number 54 and 56 Seaforth Road, and yeah, we're really keen to see that facility being used better and wider and for more than the 9 to 5 it is currently used as an office space. We think it could be a really exciting hub of technology and creativity for the island. And that piece of work Anne mentioned, I think will scope out the potential. There's obviously the studio in Toscan studio as well, which time and time again rises to the top as being a really, really helpful asset to bring productions to the island, but needs a sustainable model going forward. I think I'll pass to Donal now to talk a bit more about the kind of broadcast side of things. Thanks, Donal.
Aplet Lorna agus Fiske Magav agus Tapalui son Horum son Blin. Gneafchas as the vision you coupled on an alapa high moor has a cosk Mashia kiet million nocht gachblioma is programmen agus filming on an alapa agus haroin foplochen a cosk chimich aller 10 million machas a shia kiet as an dris parst agus a shouting of stoch a rutiken ha mór as a láidú agus sé sin go bhfuil le bhórchuid an dedicate has a cosk nisht chane BBC, Nice TV na Channel 4 a cosk ach sé Amazon is Netflix agus Apple agus na YouTube agus na streamers mór a hasin. So machas a 10 million ha cosk an an alapa le sé roin foplis BBC goharit agus STV agus sin hín has a cosk Tidach shachat id 50 million who've Gaelic. So 50 million macha 10 million jichov parst. Agus reid nistach hakin ha jofishin id a chosk id geltach agus as na Eilean. Ha me 3 gelé niach oprach id a chumalatol anloped le MG Alapa gejidach niach a njáídach. Reid ahaisk it bui economach MG Alapa agus a darna déusin as na Eilean agus ir geltoch. Agus sé get sé adavin beke hunde sin gamas the adavin mór na Halapas na Perle haid kutrimach agus haid mór son na Gaelic agus son na Coirsnach in Gaelic. Bachún 3 blian a ras va coopliche seo taispenug leersin MG Alapa son na Hamad teach agus vínig Lorna na 3 Amazon móre sé sin siad a bheits collanta son na Gael, go big programman Gaelic agus suspens Gaelic tar spúi a dúi cheacin agus go hétarnáisianta agus go sin a chud the úsachug na Gaelic agus clechug na Gaelic tro na mianin acin. Agus ma tolige inse go bhid na rútana sin a cópad geta sé am gmatú nach a ham son na mianin as an arsneoch. Ha trí dúlain móram. Se chiad dúlan sé go bhfuil dedicate idir bhí a ráthg a son 10 bliana suas chuna bliana seo far a bhid artachug de 10 a sa chiad idir bhí am agus MG Alpanist a cópad it budget de fasc is 5 milliún nacht. So se chiad dúlan sé dedicate. Sé darna dúlan sé go bhfuil na dúine báiste bhí coint television. A mór aniu i television attention agus hat a cointer inal an pick laivug mar a vis a chude neacin agus chanelet dú chopúirteach i bhí coint na huide television. Hiad go television is an rútan sáirite léid spárs beo agus tachartasan beo ach barachas barach a dúine dulcha na mianin social tuine or digitach son meachcan agus son crimachan video beke gas a níe marcabíag go lua agus go snasal. So ha dúlan a sinnacin ma dhéin a bhís sinne fialach na túine áca go hárit na túine áca chané bhaine túine áca ach bhís sinne fialach na túine na chalatín go television a bhís sin ca fialach cearst. Agus sé dúlan go má mór há sin. Agus ha cochéantra sé drés dúlan agus sé sin chotadamh sa haig an a roiin chrúchal dras, so ha roiin ruchgachaí frógraman, déanana na brógraman ananálapa agus a fiog na riach gúnigte ha iad a fúlang or chaneal na huirid de gopad idir bhí ann, agus get a ha na buinan móra leid Amazon agus Netflix agus Apple a Chin hast de galapa son stréan móra ruchgachu leid Department Q Netflix mar isimpur. Chaneal na buinan poploch tuige cosc na huirid sa bhaiad. Ha sinne rútbeg forstnach a céim dealapar chaine sin búlach fíor gunne ach a bías go péin at sa ha coscisin idir bhí fás ha teach gosteach idir bhí fuadach an rút. So sin acu na trí na dúlain agus déna choraman háráin, bhínecha trí choraman, chiad choram sé go bhfuil cast úra go BBC go bhí gan dáh líana, so BBC Charter. Héitúirechu agus asne dáchas go bhí Galíon láte de sin a thuúh na mianin Gaelic. A chatacha sin a súnis costechu agus arachmuid agus buchtug agus bísne brosnachu dúine go bhí déanú na harachmuid sin. Siadarna rút asne molug de rúnar in na stáir son alapa agus a lís frian vinneiste cécht orbis go bachár unta fás neo cúmant fás grúthdíl a bhí am son Gaelic agus a ddís Johnach blin ma dhéin a beach go sin. Agus a désrút sé a máthrachu níos an hín cónlag mar cháirstach chrúchal agus mar hasne sonna bhí brosnachu sa cúpa cónlag a son choraman horsta gúine áca go hárit. Agus ochta gúine a chelchák ach son skillan úre hócal, skillan ha téchtach a son na lín digitach ach cuiteach skillan gréamhachas, skillan entrepreneurship mar a chanasad. Agus a sinne go mór son sin a bhrosnachu agus fadachcin go láitir go múrin a Gaelic agus na Eilean far a bhís sin, go múringain bhí cruachug son chain an na bhain son hín ach son muidir na hálapa agus son muidir na riach gúnigte agus na sarsinne búlach a fiog dúil. Hasne déanú sin go iad mar há a chaine sin feincin ach chom ach féime sin a garma sin horst go bí ach bléise.
Appellites, a gúil is Lorna, an Haspanoch, Bill Kishtik File, huge. Oh, Gordon Murrow.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for your excellent presentation, and I'm sure it'll be a great success. I'd like to wish you, Lorna, all the very best in your new or newish role. I'm sure you'll be a great success. One thing I was quite interested in was you mentioned a harder to reach group. And I wanted to know, because I think when we're setting policy as well, in consultations, we have a harder to reach group as well to try and get them to engage in consultation. So I was wondering, who are your harder to reach group? I'd be quite interested to hear. Thanks again.
Dare say they're the same group. For us, we do very well on children's, we do well in sport, and we do very well in traditional television older audience. We're struggling to reach the 18 to 35 age group. We term them the missing third. It's about a third, we think, of the entire Gaelic viewing population. I think we are beginning to find them through our digital activity. We know that they don't watch television in the traditional sense, but the task for us, some of them will not use digital either, but we just have to offer really high quality programming and not compromise on the quality of what the output we're putting out, and hope that that will bring them on stream. But you know, there's no doubt that there's just been a serious shift in how people consume and their attention span, and we're going to have to adapt our offering accordingly. But it's a real challenge, and I dare say it's the same for yourselves. Is that fair, Don?
Yeah, no, that's sinné, no, I'm assuming we'll appear to gas. She wrote to her, I'm a kinda sinne ginsach who she na wrote na koprige television stoch na koprige in hinel live, so how famous is vi lo agus skipelte agus skiptí jackada how son her shachat han raket stoch 3 chicken mus gen dunje swipersin in the phone so han moonje ek wil ade son ade gunje ha go big beater agus ma how kiri chakader her shachat sinne me in de meanje nach stoch me een groinken slange na shedversion Femi jackach go bhí choúas go skipelte agus stocha an na dói ha idir lírice le dúine ha fasc idir luch na dúine bhil gamas. So ha dúine búteach a bhí géisteach í dúine ha kaint colochtú agus a ha gemúmúistú kuteach. So ha channe sin buriste ach sin an opad.
Live. Mustafa Hussein. Left.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks for your presentation. Question around the Media Skills Academy that you mentioned at the beginning. So the first one is, you know, how would you, is a physical academy we're talking about, and where is it going to be? And linking to what Councillor Murray was talking about, the hard to reach youngsters, obviously, in my experience working with a lot of hard to reach families, will have, how would you envisage hard to reach youngsters in other areas away from Stoneway, so other areas in the Western Isles, to be able to connect if it's going to be a physical academy here? So just to
Initially, no, I don't envisage it being a physical, and it will be throughout the island chain. We are very mindful that we need to take some of this effort and engine of MG Alba south of Lewis, and we do absolutely see this being run across the islands. I think, you know, initially I'm envisaging an annual calendar of short courses days. We've got an abundance of skills on the island, really skilled media people who can offer this training, and we will offer out X spaces, and we'll see where there's demand. I think it'll be very practical, very vocational training, and it will be open to school leavers. It will be open to businesses, and we'll pitch it accordingly. But I think if we can raise the game and lift the tide will lift for all boats, then if everybody who's producing good quality content is trained and working to the same high bar, then I think we can raise the language and raise the Gaelic media offering, but also allow people to see that there is really very good opportunities in this sector if they chose to make it their profession. And so that's really how I see it panning out.
Yes. Yeah, 100%, Lorna. I mean, we've got some very talented people in this chamber who are no strangers to media as well. I'm sure have very good thoughts on that. I think one of the changes, the societal changes, probably that you've all noticed and are part of is the principle of co-developing. Develop things with the people who want things. So I think we believe very strongly that there's an opportunity for ourselves in the BBC and Skills Development Scotland and Creative Scotland or Screen Scotland, yourselves as the council, to partner. And when you ask, well, who are the assets? Who are the people that you have who can help deliver something? There's lots of them. There are lots and lots of people. So build on what you've got, coordinate better what you've got, deliver it to more people, and try and take a kind of a grassroots up approach to who participates, how is training designed, and make sure that it's driven by community and individual need. And I think we can see quite a number of opportunities to do that.
Thanks very much. I mean, it's just the hard to reach category in all fields, is something that a lot of people use because it satisfies a lot of things, and as well as funding. But sometimes the hard to reach are the ones that because of the description, they're hard to reach. And if we don't have, it's not just an aspiration, if we don't have support for them to attend whatever we put in for them in terms of either finance or peer support or mental health or whatever, it's always difficult to. So we don't want to use the hard to reach without reaching the ones that needs it. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I agree. We have less of a challenge getting bright university graduates to come to us for placements and applying for jobs, and we're really determined to be able to reach those who would never think to apply for an MG Alba job or a job in production. And we're really determined to try and root out particularly young men who might want to look at careers in media.
Carol?
God bless you. Has ag yn gwrw Ian Morrison y brin hi as yn agwnin as yn ffordd o bach mae ie'n act gan yn y Gaelig sŵt y mwyswn. Diolch, mae'n hac as a chwmri as yn nierin. Mae'n cwysyn ys at y rord, agos dyn i fyr i'n ysyn gan y chan ac yn hun agos gan y nôber as y pen y dianna.
Eilean, the Kersta took our commas etter a taich ha realtas na heden je torst de TG Cahar krul ta reden noch agus ha realtas tron license vi torst dan krul der kummerish S4C ha S4C the fine koik urit de vunjach sa ha BBC Alpa ulukuleer agus ha TG Car faske 3 urit de vunjach agus a ha na fémolchen sé nunrút has na fémolchen hun fémolchen hacking agus ha Jano idir galach go mór gaisan go bhfuil urit a haich achge goharage an a bhí frialag dúneoga agus na dúine idir Russian Ukraine sin. Jeffer bega céalachu fiús go párs slí mar éise go chuisiine planadart a bheit siirih go begéidir MGalpatal suas go 2 milliún. Gur sin fear a bíga na begad cumal suas tí iad haachtarach na beg sinna tachart bug tíché toplich in warach gam mar isimpler ach bug bui na galig agus bui gharm a haun te gúne a bhí tóca gnéfachas an amachas na coins nach gacha héin sé mór bug sin agus bug carm an rútan ghéanú an na staile Jeffreyte gúne seach na crú ar nile so ghéan charachas nit Chimichael mi dhéanas nudóid sa haas na gáil Chimichael a chamas swindir go bug carm acin fás a hócar bhna coins nach cin le seo sé go sin.
Connor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. I think challenges and opportunities, I suppose, is the theme. Going forward in Lewis and Harris especially, there's going to be an awful lot of activity in the workforce relating to renewables over the next few years. I think you mentioned one of your challenges was actually workforce and actually getting people into the industry. So the opportunity to encourage people into digital and entrepreneurial skills, there'll be a challenge because there are competing demands across sectors, but I think there are real opportunities there. And like you say, if the funding that should be in place was in place, I think the sector would be in a very good way at the moment. I think most of my questions were covered. The only one that wasn't really covered was Eilean obviously did really well, fantastically well. I'm just wondering, you mentioned co-production opportunities. Has anything come off the back of that? If the big players like Netflix, Amazon, etc., is there anything that you're thinking of working together on that you can tell us?
That's a very good question. So so we would love to see a series 2 of Eilean. So the hard work has begun, the writing has begun, the funding package is the challenge because, as you'll know, we contributed just over a quarter of the funding package, but the rest came from other bodies and from tax credits. So we're working hard to get another 2 partners to the table to bridge that funding gap. In the meantime, we're ploughing on with other development, drama development opportunities as well, including a digital, what we call a digital first drama, which basically means it's 10 minutes and it'll be on YouTube, or 10 minutes, 6 episodes of 10 minutes. And I don't think I can say too much about it now because I don't think anyone is really knows. But so that will be an attempt by us to reach a different audience than Eilean reached. And Eilean was a high-end TV product. It did really well with people who like watching TV, high-end dramas. And there are quite a lot of people who watch different kind of content as well. So so the digital drama will do something for us, I think, we hope. And on the other side with co-productions, the very important part is, and there are companies from the island here who have done this and successfully, is documentaries. Documentaries are usually a very good source of co-finance. Working with European or other UK broadcasters. We prefer to work with other language broadcasters, or if it's in English, with English outside the UK, so that we have an exclusive property or title in Gaelic, so that there's not an awful lot of use of us doing a programme for BBC Alp if there's an English version on BBC Scotland, really. Sometimes we'll do that, but there has to be a really good reason for it. But some of the documentaries that have got away recently have been really good, and with co-funding, it's getting quite a difficult market at the moment, to be honest with you. So but there are projects in the pipeline.
Max? Oh, sorry, Janet. Shoot.
Sorry, Chair, I put my light off there. That was my bad. I was going to mention about the growth deal for Gaelic. I think that's a really good proposition. I think that it sets a bit of a message. Obviously, when the channel started a few years ago, you inadvertently created a digital skills academy. You created that opportunity for people to learn across the creative sectors by starting up the channel. And I think the next person who's going to be speaking is one of these people who's benefit from that. So I think it's just probably with the charter renewal coming up and potentially more funding, I think it's probably a time for another kind of push to take that forward. So it was really successful then, and there's a great chance for it to be successful again. Thank you.
Okay, Mark. When you do Max, why?
Siargo u'i chlárig ach chanel cogúni yn symu gan iarúni, so cymym mi aram.
Really far, Galen.
Ha tablab san fi an honiu, agus eintje nog kleintje kutje út an adol, ach fesker en nu aan donation had de brin billen en gaan en alapa nog. Agus kormen is konarten as in brin sin as nasin joch, dene kormen is konarten as seise feiking lesje wille had al trainer ast stego kutromach se ha gumbi kan na helan en jaar en konroch maar skide sonrich son futting futti dunje te mooi na helan na sharut se migra asönish na helan sho Comhairle MG alape no egalik hanje musme gewel kusen lecho chesfach asönish galik as na helan.
Taplah Dúchist díist a Comhairle billen na ganan an alapnach bunten kajidach die na mianien is hadju correct ben na mianien the gleeg go Westminster ach habilla sho kmakutrimach an the am sinjin doi sonrich kuyu mervel gor agus shishin gyfyd gybi cormawn sgydden sonrich enyamach mar haw grad is chan sin pulach kinjoch J hashin dol hielach a chafadach in kma wajad ac in gylena go focus agus gylena go vi cruach well tukal cruach chorman agus the crinach edukich son task genu as na hajich in ashin an the doi she socha kunart she ville she kunart the hound she nachela bille heen gra J hachris die linie vi kanige aartigen so Comhairle ediket de goed katuv marke bi gesonretje as ville son skiden sonretje achashin kema dochsoch gram machine wiese agus as smunge nach in hin huv na mianien ha Comhairle tacherche se ville ha closet olichen itterport na Gaelic agus realtas agus ma ha do injochen Salia the son na Gaelic dol hin na machas sin na salia na had the Jew kudishin farche the sin agus as ni krutchen gwache gewil ache na mianien ache wache the na mianien an the prostach kanen se vi clear kanen varke de vi tokal oprichen agus kormen te goin hab din behanen agus geharche shows na helanen so gute guten chinas ha mis wünschen gefemschen Torch is n routen as sin chinas Comhairle don dol hinas merchik dunje cool de grancha seo as gebuchtchen routen troie.
Is ja, het niet maken nieuws.
Bij tafelapse gongs, agus mar chole via machine kwant de gadas as a welschen drast van de stjornebak agus de gaan smeer dash uit door hotel economy shokunjach MG alla bestegen anders stjornebak ik kan neem mechanica down de leen huka talige dash te go kreeg gane stjornebak shows kan helan ik toeristel va agus de kwant dort men a scheise kwant en tuul daaroon agus va de welschen stjornebak schon il corm yn awn liadach ag lwch gyproch a hagwysio, agus y ffiem ag sy'n mar chwrl cael ei gianw as yn hwglwch af sefelsio, ac y bach ag ydwys gan tulio gawn i hwrdysdiach, halag ysdiach, sy'n pysyn y cloent yn ma AI sy'n chwrl cael technology a close to dort, agus sy'n gwneud gymig bwy ffwr ag television, dolador to the source technology or so, agus el corm yn awn sy'n liadach ag hadw na hagwys an y stjórn agus sy'n self bachyd sy'n mi hyd yn hwcolach nach ein siwyd sy'n hianw.
Dach.
Ray. It's the wrong button, sorry.
I'm sy'n gwybod da chwysbeth cwchiansi sy'n agos taplif sy'n cysg. Hwf ietach e lwch gobrach ha mi dolafionarach agos ra gybiarlum gyda'n hwbrich yn iddo grwch agos o rhaid ffifachach. Drwym edrych at y farach hig agos da i wcyn o'r hamis wynd gyfeisinydd stoch a mítach gur ryan gútiga fast na smó agus unrút me géin oprichen krúli sé go bhfuil sochan nas séisfiche na oprichen an na roin ruchgachi so ha mahas undas as a dói sin ach sé rút mór a mise cuúca persanta smúnjin sé masurin gúne karm a chrúchug de cháirs nach gona bhí tóca gníamhachas agus company as na cháirs nach gan héin as go big fás the líon sin who've dúine ha cruachug corman sperstes gapéins gan a lochgoprachach gyda sin an a dói nas cwtmich na MG Alapa cwyd di barach goprichin. So ha mi swindrin bín bwrt a chaicin mar sin agus a cwchentri rút mi ein campus a hakin hios Sean straid híforst agus Rís gúta sin cointed mar gyda áit oprach a ham agus sé tóchlach a ham le brecichin as múlach as uniachan agus dúine gopadan agus a sin fiers a sin a genú jeffer agus ha stoch lichid cór a gopadan agus barach gomach sa stoi. sé gorm hakin dú ha mi smúnjin stoch leis a villa seos le rutanile ha tachart agus le me hicmúneach a govarach sé vi genú cindeach go ré buile cria cruachas a ham. Go ré immet sár cruach a ham agus go bhfuil cochéintse dus na hinatan hal fiog na Eilean so go bhfuil cochéintse di barais úiste Jésus binne bhlas úiste túas Bernardis na heirig agus Chimichal jeus kuch gevet shows de liane gaum de choirs nach een kroeg a kope kaldag so ha mi swingen gere vi feinkin campus straat first an a dói mar chorm is rutiken hokal ha a gewil spionnog agus njarst chrochal agus gréavachal huf gréavachas een gresin briavachas Vir húf technolus agus AI agus agor vir corman sin an ha mi munach go vid a me swingen go vid rutan an le VR as AR kuch mar chans virtual realities augmented reality agus AI agus mar a held na groichen a sin húf na galig stíchte seo as a campus a sin catchet bilat go vi is stéchu so sé beach go hakam sé go bechorgan vi gamas sinna chu go chlósad cholós a surin agus vi gma focus éid úrgrachas innovation is stéchu gan je ban kre áit oprach a ham ach kre áit úrgrach a chimichal innovation agus entrepreneurship de varach éid cruachas na mianien heen. Dat is sinna flickert kist.
Thank you. I'm sorry I was delayed at the beginning of the meeting. And unfortunately I missed Lorna's presentation. Thanks for the presentations. I want to congratulate Lorna, as my colleague already said, and I'm sure you'll do as well as you did in your previous position. Sorry you left that, mind you, but I'm sure it'll be very successful. And I'll expect to see more episodes of An Comhairle.
Principiële jullie steach. Die toch hebben meer economisch ik MG alpe kunnen toch. Als je kutter mag en je kutter, maar als je gra is, a kutter mag je compost hak in commerciële koper. Tjumere kutter gezien schu, ik hier een politica gersan, dat toen one haar bird, snel bijzonder.
Am swingen le vi a couple ma shalga kan e planiken Comhairle as ik het kolmach. Am swingen kre roet vier waschen kusberne ro eindig kanaken a couple junsi nu mamas. So ma ha bet primi in strategic alignment as am swing kvishin also kutrmach as nachischen tidach couple de mission nach hin gonna be been so sunjum futsin shun yano as hashin ka yano ki the na mofikaran who rutinele am sunjum a fjogna helanin she nur ha geharshun da immersion at all the skillen agus tunyaka die is gewishin you could gewishish doch mar gaan je feinig kimmer surin de mianin gadik Haike goed is zo no Jane Marcha haik na mianin ma hashu strile vi ruin dunje hat duliche ruin the dat down surin na mianin horst is at the horschachat mar hu all the snow goddess mar ishempler no but dat down no da shinje kind son loch opruch mar ishempler vid fistige agus moon akische hat al goedje shinje go vi trusig loch opruch farsing hasne geri agus amúrad fear who vi tok al grianvachen agus entrepreneurship na roiach kan akopéin vi kudigist me een ver na mianin mar farste so nurin na mianin vi mar farst agus rot vis me ganis mun han na mian hat tunes narsnioch as a duche so kaint video son etter kehes koikoden wat a kachla réir ofcom agus itar telly agus fónicin live agus a chum sin fein is de go bethe gúine go tíadach ina fónicin live ach go sinne trna méann gadigach Gúis an le dóin as a dáchan an jo fiús trna méann gadig kuteach a chum an teachach an lírice agus lírice gomá agus go snásal as go éfachach as a dáisisin kuteach.
Is eerlijk dunje. Wanneer heel erg jullie tijd hoort, dat je Comhairle zonne wie Comhairle, zoals je controle wie koper Comhairle was een plenartje naar Rooshoek. Op tap live. Is je wel beil, ik kunt er nu mooi een 3 punten hun. Tap live. Zo was niet zo kusperikeerd. Scrúdach Gianatus and Ash shows on physical for physical errors, lecture clear and who Priamachin, Priamacusum, but in the Shadavish Anuach economical as conscious as Anna Murach, Dovrinish, Nash, Ashok.
Thank you, Chair. So the report is just the standard end-of-year report regarding how various parts of the service have performed against the service business plan. It's a long report with lots of detail in it, so I won't go through it in detail, but pleased to report that good progress has been made against a range of areas in 24-25. And I think also important to note that there are a range of other work that is another range of other work ongoing through the service that isn't captured here. The report notes that expenditure was within budget and also that management of risks ensured these remained within tolerances. So nothing specific to add to the report, but happy to take questions on any of the detail contained within it.
Thanks, Chair. I've got two questions. If one of them is on the risk management in section 6.1, I think the report identifies two strategic risks, RS4 and RS22, with initial ratings of medium and high, respectively, which are reduced to low and medium after implementing controls. Can you provide specific examples of the risk control measure to SR22 and how their effectiveness is monitored and reported through the interplan system to ensure that the high risk is adequately mitigated?
So yes, the full risk register is available on Interplan, and that's updated. There's actions on that, and they're monitored either annually or quarterly. Probably the best thing to do is I can run off a copy of the risk register and circulate that, and that's got the detail of the actions.
Thanks. I've got a second question. The report, this was in the outcome delivery progress. The report details progress on 10 strategic outcomes, such as the Outer Hebrides Energy Hub and business gateway support. Now, given the reported challenges, such as the rescoping of the Energy Hub project and the lower than expected uptake of the Outer Hebrides Young Enterprise programmes, what specific adjustments or contingency plans are in place to ensure that these outcomes are delivered on time and within budget in the 25-26 period?
So I think the actions in the 25-26 business plan are sufficiently. So there's no specific action in terms of the Young Enterprise Programme, for example. It's more about delivery of business support. So again, I would need to refer back to the 25-26 business plan and just see what we've adjusted to take into account maybe things that didn't progress as anticipated in 24-25.
Yeah.
Does that
Can you
help?
explain that to us?
Yes. Yep.
Thanks.
Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Chairman. I noticed in the financial that under culture and heritage museums, it's minus 120 there, which is the biggest accounts for the well, along with development planning, accounts for most of the savings. Is that the case? And why?
No, the budget for the budget for museums was 681k, and the actual expenditure was 561k. So they were actually under budget.
I mean, in theory, that's good, but on the other hand, it could be bad because, you know, there's a saving being made there, but what accounts for the saving?
I would need to look into it in more detail, but I suspect it's probably due to maybe specific grants coming in and things like that would be carried for activity that maybe is still being delivered into this financial year. So I can come back
Maybe
to you on that. Yeah.
Fine. Yeah.
Is the project in you? On the hill, sorry, Mr. McConnell.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I wish to refer to item outcome 315 on. I'm really my concern is the fuel poverty strategy, and obviously I'm very supportive of it. And I know that we now have a new housing services manager, so that we're moving in the right direction there. Always at the back of my mind is that the fact that we have the highest fuel poverty in the country is something that requires to be addressed as a matter of some urgency. And yet we don't seem to have in place a project that would enable us to reduce fuel poverty significantly, you know, in a quick kind of way, which is what we really need to do. We really need to address it as an island issue rather than as a general Scottish issue. And the other matter that's referred to in the next paragraph is the idea of a local energy economy. And I've just given a little bit of paper to Mr. Cunningham that I found in a newspaper where the advert is arguing for the government to change the way in which electricity is priced. And the man in the argument from Octopus Energy is saying that it can be done. It's just a question of making sure that the government actually does it. And I'm wondering to what extent we have any role in pursuing these two particular things, and that is one, an island proofing of fuel poverty, and some way in which to get locational planning in terms of the charges for electricity going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we covered a lot of that ground in the submission we made to Ofgem recently, but I can bring Mr. Cunningham in.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. As you've said, we've made submissions to Ofgem previously through the review of pricing. We are pushing for lower prices in the Outer Hebrides and a local energy economy where we can match generation and demand. We have Power Circle. Councillor McCormack asked whether there was a particular project in place. We've got Power Circle consultancy working on a kind of route, a pathway to affordable energy and therefore to deal with fuel poverty. We should have the report possibly for next committee series. They've identified 6 options and they've narrowed that down to 3 for some in-depth consideration. And it's to do with accessing local generation in a way that national costs aren't added and passing that on to local consumers. We could go back to Ofgem and follow up on the previous submission, Chair, because the government is coming close to a decision on locational pricing. So maybe it's timely to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not on your committee, but can I refer to 7.3 in your report, Anne, in which you mention primary industry strand of the Island Steel Programme. And you mention 4 there: Ackerside, Breivik, storage used meat processing. I take that out. I'll home in on that one. Battersea gear storage. Are these the only? Is there any chance of other projects being admitted into this primary industry strand?
There was a report to the last series regarding the Islands Growth Deal and just kind of rescoping a number of the projects within it, including trying to take out some of the smaller components within the primary industries work. And in the report, it was suggesting that we don't add anything else to the Islands Growth Deal at the moment because it's so challenging to deliver what we have in there at the moment. There is potential shared prosperity funding towards some of these kind of capital projects. So that provided some support to some pier and harbour investment in the last financial year as well. So there are other opportunities that come up in relation to capital investment in the food and drink sector that we can continue to pursue, but not within the Islands Growth Deal at the moment.
That's fine. Just, Chair, sorry, Chair, for carrying on. Yeah, just that when I see the Strawless used meat processing facility, Mr. Mackenzie, he's not here. He's not here. Mentioned something about what will come up in TNI tomorrow. I'm surprised that we didn't have a Lewis meat processing facility project in there. So that's why we've missed something. And I think we've missed something very big. Do you agree?
I think there have been discussions around that area and what might be possible to achieve, but obviously nothing's emerged that could be progressed within the timescale in terms of capital expenditure.
That's fine.
Okay, man. Tap alive. Oh, when you don't look like
A mi fichtin ik 6.10 as an ast na metallisch gad ieder kunjach kastelen wil om nood kunnen UK Share Prosperity Fund reine mag kamal boy gafet gadan. Dus giving time could kind of have it gadan schon. John like de verschillende projecten Michel. Agus leerdige gadan rot ha konje makkelje ki tukar dat ik alles zien Chai erged ma chwnnw sŵl hwdedd gylogi eisci os anloch personal agus y cymadu cosgys agus ybrych yn y chwyth ma chwnnw cymadu ronoch gaharfed y liadach ag ys egstor y sŵstiosan agus am ysbynnyr ag rwyd o fa gonish y macilenia togal grawn ton y Share Prosperity Fund stoch fa corma ys o'n fa ffolwsioch gyro Eilean scrothtiel go sinnne dune. Ach, a schalten go follow sich an 6.10 schon. Schos project in a chaich train. Agus, de chwaantes mi had for warich. Fatently who was trying to Eilean agus tot soos go galab agus schon. Agus a trying to Eilean ne fat.
Appalachian.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just following on from what Councillor McCormick said, and long before the growth deal and everything. Councillor Gordon Murray, he put forward a local energy company about 10 years ago, and the council turned it down at that time. Now, if we had gone ahead at that time, we'd be in a much better position than we are now. And the other point is, of course, that it costs more for electricity in Scotland than it does in London. So yeah, that point about the locality cost certainly is important. That be sorted out.
Thank you, Mr. McCall. I wouldn't give Mr. Murray all the credit for the idea of having a local energy company. That's something we've been pursuing for many years, but the opportunity for us to utilise it hasn't been there. And perhaps Mr. McKinnon can update us and give a brief summary on that history.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's something we have looked at over a number of years, and Councillor Murray's been key in that process. It is one of the options we're looking at through Power Circle. There are significant challenges in terms of customer base. If we do go for a supply company, we'd probably have to be a Scottish Islands company rather than just out of Hebrides to get the sufficient customers. There's also investment risk. There's back office complexity of back office operations. So it has been looked at, and it is one of the options that's in that report that'll come forward from Power Circle, and it might be one of the ways forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, look, Mr. Murray, briefly, please.
Yeah, I'm too humble. It's a team effort here.
Indeed. That's the way you should look at all of these things. So, wel beil gunther in a section like 3 point geheen. Appelive, sniet was het go kus voor de kook, se jauchi, en aasgeschiedig unteri schema plannen lesachi 2025. Is drech arisch compartiger. Is ha Mary McKean over as Hannah Morrison, na sios yn brynische na eisgeis rhagor cesians bi.
And of the anticipated programme of engagement and consultation on these work streams. Under the new development plan regulations, we are obligated to consult on the participation statement of the DPS. We propose to do this over the summer and report back to members later in the year. The DPS sets out the programme of work for preparing the document, which involves different processes from the current LDP. The main focus of work in the coming year continues to be on the preparation of the evidence report stage, which is part of the which in part replaces the previous main issues report stage, which some members may recall. This will be subject to review by Scottish ministers through a gate check process before we can proceed to the next stage of the plan preparation. We anticipate holding a workshop with members around the turn of the year to go through the emerging issues emanating from the draft evidence report stage for the new plan, and there will be a further series of workshops with members as we progress into more detailed policy areas. The report before you seeks approval of the development plan scheme and authority to consult on the publicly on the draft participation statement element of it, of the DPS. Just a further couple of points to note. Cyber continues to impact the progress of the plan process. More positive news that we are currently still running a consultation on a call for ideas and are seeking views from communities, individuals, businesses, landowners and other stakeholders to help inform the new plan. And we're also just about to launch a consultation on a statutory part of the evidence gathering process to look at place efficiency. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you, Mary. Any questions to be for Bail? Ian and Hannah? We will have a seminar in due course. So, okay, Maha. Well, Bail Gunther is na more next 3 point go. Thank you. Item 6 is housing, and before we proceed, I just want to welcome and congratulate Lorraine Graham on her appointment as Housing Services Manager. She's no stranger to us here in the chamber, and we look forward to working with you over the next number of years. So this report gives a final position on the achievements and challenges of the local housing strategy from 2017 to 2022, and also gives an update on preparation for the next stage of the local housing strategy, which will cover the period from 2025 to 2030. And Angela Smith is here to speak to the report.
Thank you, Chair. As you mentioned, it's just to give a final position on the previous local housing strategy, which has actually been a 7-year strategy as opposed to a 5 one, owing to various things which are outlined in the report at section 7. At section 7, we've had at 7.3, there's I just want to outline a few things. Considerable success in housing development in partnership with Hebridean Housing Partnership, Scottish Government, Tenanshgowl, with 229 homes delivered over the original 5-year period of the LHS and 52 shared equity homes. And we've had issues in terms of budgetary constraints, most notably on the funding available from Capital Programme for Adaptations. That continues to be problematic for us. So we hope to look at these, I would say, outstanding issues in the next local housing strategy. At 7.6 outlines of the 39 actions in the previous LHS, 15 were fully achieved, 12 were partially achieved, 9 were not achieved, and 3 did not progress. So there has been successes. In terms of progress to date on the next local housing strategy, we are hoping to go to have a consultative draft available in the latter part of the year. We hope to go out to consultation and to submit to Scottish Government for the peer review process in September, October this year. Since autumn 2023, the Local Housing Strategy Steering Group has met monthly to discuss various things, various work streams associated with the previous local housing strategy, items to carry over. As you know, the Housing Need and Demand Assessment, the HINDA, achieved robust and credible status in October 2023, and that provides an evidence base to underpin the local housing strategy. The housing supply target went to committee in April 2024, and we are currently preparing a housing contribution statement with our health and social care colleagues. We've carried out extensive in-person engagement throughout the islands, and we also carried out a stakeholder workshop in April, and that was very productive. We had 78 actions coming from that, and a suggestion of 2 additional outcomes. In the last local housing strategy, we had outcomes on quality, homelessness, independent living, and supply. And there's been an additional suggestion for an outcome on sustaining communities and also on fuel poverty. So we hope to have a final position in terms of outcomes and actions towards the end of this month, in the middle of next month, and return to committee, as I mentioned, with a consultative draft in September. So there's a couple of appendices to the report, one on consultation and engagement outcomes, and also a review of each of the actions in the previous local housing strategy. So I'm happy to take any questions, answer any questions if I can. Thank you.
Commissioner Murrow.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, I'd like to thank Angela for all the work that's been done in these papers. There's a huge amount of work that has to be done, and thank you very much. I'll also like to congratulate Lorraine on her new post. I just want to talk about the consultation process for the Local Housing Strategy 2530, and it identified 5 major themes, including population decline and the need for increased housing supply, with strong community feedback emphasising affordable tenure, diversification and rural development. Now, given that the rural-urban split of 55-45 was not met in the Local Housing Strategy 2017-2022, how will the Local Housing Strategy 2530 steering group ensure that community-driven priorities such as establishing area-specific housing need and demand and supporting rural communities with family-sized homes are translated into concrete, measurable actions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, we have had a lot of discussion at the workshop event and at the steering group about how we do this. You'll be aware that the funding we get from Scottish Government is for affordable housing, and there's a strategic local programme meeting that takes place between Scottish Government, between HHP, the Council every month, with discussion on what our local priorities are, and there's feedback comes from the steering group monthly that returns to this group, and we agree priorities going forward. The feedback from communities, the report is available to anybody who wants it. It's a publicly available report. Feedback from communities and individuals has suggested that they would like to see more rural development and more support of communities. And it's actually difficult to do that when we look at our priorities, our statutory priorities as a local authority, in terms of where people want to live. And when we're working with HHP, we have to look at their waiting list, and they have got a huge waiting list for Stornoway. So as a local authority, we have a lot of work to do in terms of what we want to do and how we want to push our own priorities forward. But we have to do that with our partners. We have to do that with our partners, and we have to be realistic about what we can achieve in terms of our resources. There's lots of meetings happening at the moment. There's lots of discussions taking place. And I'm not sure if anybody else wants to come in on that.
The MOUG will be meeting.
The MOUG will be meeting hopefully in August.
And they'll be coming back to committee, so there'll be plenty of opportunity for members to contribute to the strategy going forward.
Yeah.
And we do review the urban-rural balance annually.
Yes.
Anyway,
in the SHIP.
Determined on how the programme is working out.
It's
Leader.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks, Angela, and congratulations, Lorraine. I don't know if Councillor Murray meant that concrete measurable, as in buildings on the ground. The point I was going to make was we've had some really interesting presentations celebrating 50 years of the cornea. And one of the striking visual things that was shown to us by Alison McCachen was the standard of housing, especially in Barra and Battersea. He showed us the slips, pink slips, below tolerable standards, and it was the majority of houses in Battersea at the time. And the amount of work the cornea did in the last 50 years to change that. So I think it's appropriate that you mention adaptation as being part of the strategy going forward. I think there's opportunities around energy efficiency and fuel poverty, and when we talk to stakeholders, developers, and ways that they can support us, I think this is definitely one way that they should be assisting us going forward in terms of adaptations for bringing houses up to certain standards, energy efficiency wise, but also, and I know we've touched on medical adaptations in the past as well, but I think just making houses suitable for the people that live here. There's an awful lot more I could see. Obviously, this is one of the 6 key priority areas for the cornea over the next couple of years. So it's really important that we get this right. And just to say thanks for the work that's been done, and look forward to seeing the draft and the workshop, etc., going on further in the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Murray.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to comment on what I thought was a really valuable exercise, a stakeholder workshop in April. I thought, and I think to see 2 additional outcomes being suggested at that meeting and coming out and being carried into the core areas there, I think makes something like a workshop feel very, very valuable when you can see that the suggestions that came there are actually translated into being added into the core area. And I thought it was a really useful meeting, and I think that's evidence of that. So congratulations on the report, and I thought the workshop was excellent.
Thank you, Francis. Councillor McCormack.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Angela, for your report. I too wanted to make reference to the workshop that we had attended in the Cala, and I thought it was first class. It ran very well, and I learned a great deal from it myself. In particular, I learned about all the challenges that we face going forward. And although it's not necessarily a part of your report at the moment, Angela, there are all the other housing developments that are likely to come in the next few years, which will also have to be a part of all of what we're talking about here. And yet again, I come back to the point that if we don't have the resourcing in the first place, we're not going to be able to build the houses. We've just had an indication that HHP wish to build 160, I think it is, houses. I'm assuming they've got the money for 160, but perhaps they don't, because very often what happens is they have a plan, but they can't necessarily complete all of the housing at any particular time. May have to do half now and half again sort of idea. But it really is important that for the future we have guaranteed resourcing coming to housing so that we can deal with the issues. The first issues are just giving decent housing to our own people. Then there is the issue of accommodating those who are coming to work in the islands. They should have good accommodation too, and we should benefit from that at some point in the future. So there's much more to come in the strategy, Angela, as you go forward. I guess it's going to get much more complicated, but it's very good where we've got to for the present, and I really did enjoy the strategy group in the Cala Inn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormack. Any other? Okay, man.
Thanks, Chairman. Well, thanks for the very detailed report. And I notice the houses returned empty houses return. That seems very encouraging. There's more to go, of course, but that's made a good dent in houses available. So that's very good. I don't know as much as majority of people here about this particular aspect of it. Is there any way that, I know it's been discussed before, that we can look at second and holiday homes? Some areas in the country, I don't know whether it's Channel Isles or Isle of Wight or that's wherever, Scilly Isles, they have controls over people having second homes. And I just wonder, you know, it's somewhere in the report, it shows second homes, the percentage and all the rest of it. And it's incredible the number of houses involved. And we're desperate to get houses. And I know that we try and control it through the council tax and so forth. But is there, you know, looking forward into the future, is there some way that this council can take control of this aspect? Thank you.
If there was a way, I think we would be exploring it. It's quite difficult to manage the market in that way. I think there are possibly things that can be done through planning policy, but we also need to remember that second and particularly short-term rents do bring an income stream into our islands that we need in terms of tourism. These are all things that we can discuss. Just to see if there's a way forward on them. I'm not sure if there's anything that can be done via planning policy, Mary, if you want to come in.
I'm going to let take the Chief Executive. Thanks. Angela.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the wider point, as members are aware, that sort of local control over housing policy is exactly what we seek through the single authority model. It's a very key feature for ourselves and also for our Argyll and Bute Council, one of our partners in that work. So it is recognised, other than in the Western Isles, that there is a need for better local regulation of housing control. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chief Executive.
Back on that. Thank you. I didn't realise that. Can we not proceed? You know, if there's no single island authority, I know we're working. Intention is to get to that state, but why does it require a single island authority for steps to be taken in this way? I mean, what's the health board or the port authority or whoever? They don't have any, involvement in housing.
Chief Executive.
I suppose I would summarise the answer, Chair, with there is simply a complex statutory and regulatory landscape among planning, among housing policy. I think our point has always been that these need to come together and be determined locally, but it's not an easy landscape, as Ms. Smith and probably planning colleagues will confirm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm not expecting something to happen next week or next month, but for the future.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members agree recommendation 3.1. Thank you. Ik was het go kuspa de Sheikh, service and stieg greenwachs janitus 24-25. Naast je tot visserig, terwijl ik janitus service and stieg greenwachs en zo'n oblione ga zeggen. Is het daarom te maken en de show zo'n prinishnage is record kist. Norman, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It was a challenging year in terms of startups. Overall in Scotland, startups were down by 9%, by as much as 44% in some areas. Overall, though, there were some very positive local outcomes. The number of new business inquiries that we dealt with increased by 20% over the period. The number of businesses assisted to achieve growth also rose by 50%. And as a result of this, about 100 full-time equivalent jobs were either created or safeguarded. We were also able to support a couple of fishing investments, one in Barra and one in Lewis. In the past 5 years alone, we've invested over £1 million in the sector, and without the support, these vessel purchases would not have proceeded, effectively creating a barrier to entry for new young entrants to the fisheries sector. We've already approved 4 applications in the first 2 months of this new financial year, with almost £200,000 of funding being split between Lewis, Harris, Benbecula and North Uist. So things are definitely picking up in the fishery sector. Just need to point out a small error in the report in table 6.7. The header should have read number of new business inquiries, not number of startups. So that's on table 6.7. The narrative is all fine. It's just the heading there. Happy to try and answer any questions members may have.
Thank you, Norman. Members have any questions? Leader.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks for the report. It's more a comment than a question. Obviously, we're focusing on startups, and that's the main element of work that you do. But it's just interesting to see the figures of business that are already existing that are coming to you for help and support. I suppose we actually have quite a lot of medium and small businesses already in existence, and with a small population, you know, you're going to reach the point where you're going to be getting less and less startups looking to come into play because they exist. So and they're being successful. So I just wondering if you have any thoughts on that. You know, are we seeing a change in applications to that from that stage because we already have quite an active economy?
Actually, it's always been fairly evenly split between startup inquiries and existing business inquiries. It's been relatively evenly split over the past number of years. But yeah, I would say probably we've had definitely. I think it's very often sometimes depends on the funding packages that are available, and we find that more existing businesses come to us when we do have the funding available to us, which we had over the past year. So there's definitely more over the past year.
Thank you, Norman. Any other questions? If not, thank you, Norman, to you and your team for steady success and the support you provide to entrepreneurs, aspirational entrepreneurs of the future. And the recommendations are at 3.1 for our agreement. Now we move on to item 8, the Scottish Government Cruise Ship Levy Consultation. Report seeks the homologation of the coroner's response to a Scottish Government consultation on the potential introduction of a local authority cruise ship levy in Scotland. And Murdo Mackay is here to speak to the report and answer any questions.
Hi, thank you, Chair. As you mentioned, the cruise ship levy consultation closed on the 30th of May and the response was submitted by that date. And members also considered the piece of work that was commissioned between the 3 island authorities at the members' seminar on the 7th of May. And the recommendation B there is to pause any further development given the results of that consultation and economic investigation that was done by the consultants. There's not much else to add to the summary of the report other than to say that since the writing of the report, Shetland Islands Council have taken a similar decision to pause any further development, and Orkney Islands Council have also put off any decision until the end of this year. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from members? We're just pausing things till we see how it works out with other authorities. We don't want to rush into anything. Okay, thank you. Members give recommendations. 3.1. Okay, Dus per een nieuw programma jessegie in het al verstuur en huis nog. Kan eigenlijk zo towards als kruidig het programma jessegie in het al verstuur huis nog. Zo'n Leon gaat zeggen. Als het het vestigig met het programma is zo'n Leon her hossig. Hij spreekt niet meer. Is een nice gescho. Tapel. Te veel. Als je nou uit het liedje les spakelen jongen.
Tá beléise charige ha nachis seo a gí se gaibh mó program leisiige verstuurd na choirsnoch nu CLLD skemme a ha a bhúnige rialtas na Halpe agus man program a chai cholanach a nudí agus cuiteoch began man flanig na haken an blianam. Man híú huur sin rútpe war ook céhirt not céhirt míle not van rialtas nudí. Agus chai imigrut a cholanach sin rutne is kutermiche gro koorstmunige riein. Gunchach sin mach gunna koirsnoch en zo'n konje gri gesonrit buin en koirsnoch zijn fijne macht na had alles na koirsnoch aken rutbek ma jen jessig lag buin studie aken agus kuchok huksin arget gana youth lag new way lag een boeien oikrie haken magenbuk. Es nou zijn koch gij een program kleva waar man hele shoot doelen ja ik in huurschen arket waar ook maar aanmog is vlionen Rutbekro jedek een havin en nu deze vaak in Russische koskro jedek ne pliane innerwers gaat ukschen kus in kus gaan ach ga ja in Russische jaren ach relinchen gaat ja rutnega elle dein biloch man was in zuurlijk. Ha huurschen budget zo'n plione ga budget CLLD en een alpe geleerd schiers gemoor. Ach ganjen ha sin arikedain agus wonne ga in huis a jonne huurschen ariket waar ook trans tu maar hat rarisch zo huurschen gewoor kiert miele not waar ook haschen vaak al 3 kiert 40 miele not ak in zo'n plione agus get nach elchen biloch na huurschen en nu die een taggerie man ga ariket CLLD jarig aan de Alpe gaan het skilshin barok na waschen zuurlijk. Polgri en nudi ha een laag een boeien studieaken planig na goed roen zo'n plione die eerst ha zo'n koorst meunigi uilschik she arik het kalpe ha gebjaun agus ha een nuulschen uilschik tuverstij kalogiek me heetschlein agus in oorske shin machas raad ha en nog is barok op een jonne die eerst wie dolle mag kunnen koers nog een community engagement mogen buk agus a gopa roiloch san blionichen rihín agus ha sin a gopa tachart ik ieder nation te kuchoch ha biach own Leonre CLLD a hooschiig ik ieder nationte agus kuchigen astersen sin geordnigig. Ha mi kuchoch is een ordinade haring pink Siar pink 3 Youth Local Action Group New Wild Action en boeien oikriaken de gunje at de Siar tantjiek agus koikaricht. Agus had nog eens jeans brinreif as een tavin. Ik gonje zo. Ze boeien hoorschen chimichle wel rutbeke waar ik daar Leonidas had op het le had de fijn een budget gaf heen, goede pliones had heen, rui koerst meunergie, zat dollemach skonje grie, wailags alles konje grie lucht politics. Gimmerst agus a kotchichiks, agus wel man hoort me had heen, go wie zo springreif en a schier snelle has een noches. Agus ham smeuch gel korm gadido en a wie koppe koleru. Agus ma kechten mi ek dinges mi fiach mi an frekkers.
Papale, smaira. Kist piek weilig in naam zo.
Easton.
Yes, I see. Yeah. Koning Houston Robertson.
Thank you, Harry. He's bedoel like in Afrika is gestjok you. Maar wil je de community teich gaan? Daar hurus een program zo eigenlijk maar. Pwysdioch al gwein hyf torsen oslo son Simon is moe. Nu rwyd ych hanen. Ha nhw'n ha bwyn y cos cos gadis ash a stio ia mwyn again fi caran sarach am sŵr gyda'i fi caran traum o'r son Simon yn bege edeg at a tor upig ha dod y ash o'n nhw'n offig leis yn israch a gi o'r son mismwch yn cael ei caran mae'n gwtys mi ras y feirl over the top agus ach an offig ein ydy fi gyma cwtioch o'r ffim mi ra.
As ik in een schön. Dank u.
Tapeleis sam go móchail agus gan ní an cóirthe Robertson an údunne go bhfuil an gceann sin ach sé scemmaríaltas na Halpa hán agus bhil son bhríaltas na Halpa a ha ní rialtan si de jeans gan níl cúsáin is a rina dionmin jean.
Gaan oor in nieuws en hazige kaju. De kistobject in jullie kan. Oh, Mustafa en Akmi, sorry.
Thanks, Mira, and thanks for the report. It was just a question around the YLAG. So it's obviously the supporting the youth and things up here in most of the strands that the Comhairle does. And I was just looking at the budget allocated to them, 50,000. Is that maybe in the circumstances, could they maybe get a wee bit higher budget so they can maybe be helped obviously and be supported to deliver their priorities? But I thought maybe 50,000 in the big scheme of things for the YLAG doesn't represent the aspiration we have for supporting young people, maybe.
Thank you very much. Interesting question to which I can't give you a completely straight answer. Well, 2 or 3 points, I suppose. First of all, last year was actually a bit of a blip. In previous years, their budget was more around the 20,000 mark. So last year was already a lot more, but it actually was that the Scottish Government, again, at the end of November, suddenly gave us almost 50,000, which was ring-fenced for the YLAG, and therefore for them to use. The way CLLD funding works, the Comhairle works as what's known as accountable body, and as such doesn't have actual decision-making power. The decision-making power lies with our local action group. They have, for this year, devolved 30,000 of capital funding and 5,000 of revenue funding at this stage to the YLAG. So they've in some ways had a cut from last year's budget. However, as I say, that is because last year's budget was so much higher and ring-fenced for YLAG activity. I think there's also a possibility, depending how funding applications go to both funds, that there will be a bit of a rejuggle between the two budgets. However, if councillors feel that they would like to give the YLAG some of their funding, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to take it. And you can raise that with them when they're in the committee in November.
Nice.
Laat, ja, graag. Femi rakel maira dobbel voor janu. De froodschik daar zo gus. De wijne mag gesei madeket aan. Ach, kwata de schema zo dat ze Simon bekte gelijket aan. Femishin kwat met de hoorige Robertson gra. Kel zo tot korm ga deunje. De froodschik nach kot go ide agus een oorson. Dat ik zelfs in de Cardiff agus had tot Noorsen kon nahi de had tot de small. Agus de geharig en de was je vinken de hanik de projecten agus steunje georia dat ik de stach. Had dus ja het tijd got chemical darn is de waan. Agus een project de waan. Gat de gauwt va ieder dus mag gewoon nu dat ik het. Agus je min hier kra kro mehine get hodicht. Schon gunnig gan die gan de bailak in de noite youth lag hier stede show. We san on trick hik koje na Siar ogri. Ho economisch. Chemical abon fair stone wat wat fonisch va voor ja kan gest. Va hult de kurs show. Ach va mischefin mischnach gro ogri. Geharet ik neusche groat. Gjonige wik war pastig. Es schur op de was show. De ding kon show hadden we natuurlijk een ook die halige stach go hunter agus spit de ha an an haisnacht agus sunne mi ré do jura seo de geanú agus go fi me sin nearstach agus ha me kwad gomór dus at ko agus dunjeke an de siami as an ilne mar ach ha project gat ha soundbek an ha tot torewarch geket gan chaisnacht den project in ha tot taichke.
Very good. Good. Appelleis. Okay, as in weil gyntig normalnik 3 point heen. Appelleis. Item 10 Spaceport 1 project update. The report provides an update on the progress in relation to the Spaceport 1 enabling infrastructure construction, gives an overview of the project priorities for the coming period and seeks agreement to the Comhairle's representation on the Sculpic Farm Habitat and Amenity Management Plan Steering Group. And Alison is online to speak to the report. Thank you, Alison.
Thanks, Chair. I'm delighted to be able to report that the enabling infrastructure was completed in mid-April. Macaulay Askernish Limited did a fantastic job. So the site is now back open to the public, and I'm really glad to see that it's being well used. Usage had dropped off for a while there, but I've had frequent reports of the car park that we put in being full. So that's great news. The report gives an overview of the priorities for the coming period, and that's largely the more community orientated aspects of the project and the parts of the project looking at the wider development of Sculpic Farm. And key to that is the establishment of the Habitat and Amenity Management Plan Steering Group, snappy title. And it's recommended to you that the 2 members for Uishtatua be appointed to that group. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions on this? Your agreement? Oh, Ray Mackenzie.
Thanks, and obviously good progress was made, and excellent that it came in under and extra work was done. It's obviously fantastic potential for jobs in the islands. I've just a couple of questions. Are there any guarantees? I know it's difficult, but that there will be an operator procured? It's assumed that there will be. And the second question is, and that once an operator is procured, at the end of the day, is that up to the council? So first of all, I want to know, what guarantees have I got on both counts?
Alison, do you want to come back?
Yeah, thanks. So guarantees I can't give you, but we have put in a significant amount of work over the years to ensure that the market is aware of the project, is aware of the opportunities Spaceport 1 will bring, not just our community, but also the space market. We undertook a prior information notice exercise at the end of 2023, and at that point we had 2 formal responses. So that was 2 organisations wanting to run Spaceport 1, and subsequent to that we've had another 2 expressions of interest in running Spaceport 1. We've kept engaged with these organisations, just keeping them updated on progress with the enabling infrastructure and also our procurement timeline. Is it within the Comhairle's control? Absolutely. There'll be contracting arrangements as there would be with any other lease or concession contract. So the benefits that we will achieve from Spaceport 1 is within the control of the Comhairle. I don't know if that's sufficient. I can talk at length and happy to provide information out with the
Thank you,
the committee.
Yes, if I could come back, Chair. Yes, we obviously, I know we can't have guarantees, but presumably there's going to be competition, and I don't know how much competition I hear about Shetland and maybe down in Argyll or somewhere. But I don't know how many, what do you call them, satellites are going to be launched up into space. There's a man there who knows more about it than I do. But we're spending an awful lot of money on it, and it's good that the work is going to be there. But I hope that at the end of the day, and I don't want to be negative, but I suppose I am, that I hope that at the end of the day, nobody wants to use, the North Use one, because there's competition elsewhere. That's my only little fear.
We've got to reach for the stars, Mr. McKenna.
If I could come back, Chair, probably advisable if I send some background information because I don't want to take up too much of the committee's time. But firstly, we won't be launching satellites from Spaceport 1. That's not our intention. I will provide more details as to the reasons why. And I think it's really important to distinguish between the operators of Spaceport 1 and the users. We have a very credible pipeline of customers that want to launch suborbital rockets from Spaceport 1. There will be a procurement exercise for a company to operate the spaceport. So that's the company that will run the spaceport and facilitate launch. I get concerns, but please be assured that a lot of work has gone in over the years to make sure that we have both operators and customers lined up.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Murray, Gordon Murray.
Thank you, Chair. My question's about the risk with compliance with Planning Condition 23. And the report emphasises that the Habitat and Amenity Management Plan, HAMP, and its steering group, mandated by Planning Condition 23, are critical to enabling Spaceport 1's operation, as non-compliance could delay or prevent the facility from becoming operational. I think that's my understanding. Given that ecological studies like breeding bird and bat surveys are ongoing until summer 2025, and public consultation is only scheduled for the same period, with the first HAMP draft and steering group meeting not anticipated until September 2025, what specific contingency measures are in place to mitigate the risk of delays in discharging Condition 23, particularly if unforeseen ecological issues or community objections arise? And how will these ensure the project remains on track for operator procurement and operational readiness? Thanks.
Did you get all that, Alison?
I would like to say yes, but I'm not quite sure of Councillor Murray's point. I think we need to differentiate between discharging planning conditions and procurement of the operator. They run concurrently.
Just that we've got to be discharging Planning Condition 23. So if something comes up that we can't do that, will that have an effect on the process in procurement for an operator and being operational ready? Because there might be unforeseen circumstances. Have we got a contingency plan in place to mitigate that risk?
I don't see what the risks would be of not being compliant. The condition is to develop a strategy, which is what we're seeking to do over the coming period. That condition is a pre-operational condition. There will be a number of months between procurement of the operator and the site becoming ready. We're not anticipating first launch likely now until end of spring, early summer 26. So the timeline allows for almost a year to produce a HAMP.
Okay, thank you, Alison. Any more questions? And if not, we'll just agree the recommendations, which also includes Yushchan and Mustafa going on to the steering group. Agreed, thank you. Good idea. Okay, item 12 is going to be taken in private at the end of the meeting, so we'll move to item 11 with reports outstanding, and that's for noting. So we will now conclude the meeting and go into private to consider item 12. The relevant officers or members of the committee should remain, and I will ask all other participants to please leave the meeting now. Thank you for your attendance and for your contributions.